Hey everybody, last night at the fights, I went to Bombshells and they had the zone fights on. The promoter was Golden Boy Promotions, and the story behind Golden Boy is Bob Arum was Oscar De La Hoya's promoter, and he set him up as his own promotion company, and he probably did it so Oscar wouldn't leave him. Okay, he became a partner with Oscar, and so he couldn't. He's gonna. Why would you leave your own company, right? And the Bob is the promoter for Top Rank. Okay, one of the biggest promotion companies on the planet, and Oscar formed a partnership with the promoter member Roy Engelbright. So he'd been around for a long time in Southern California. He had the contract with the Duck Pond, and they do fights like every week. But they were terrible fights. They were so mismatched. I think he was padding the record for his fighters, and they'd fight in tomato cans off guys right off the street, and and they got really bad. Like a lot of times you tune into the fights and there'd be nobody in the duck pond. They were fighting, they were fighting their walkover, just to pad their record so they could get to a title fight quicker. They do a lot of that in guys will go down to Mexico, and so they end up fighting. They fight guys like right off the street. They need money, so they put the gloves on and they get aced, but they get paid. It's a common practice in the industry, but it's bad for the sport. And that's what it started looking like last night in the preliminary fights. They had one guy that only white dude, heavyweight, fat guy, had 5 fights in against a guy who has like 28 fights, and should be fighting the higher level guys. And he got aced the first round. It was terrible, right? And then the co-main event, it looked like it was going to be the same thing. It was Regis Progress, who's from Houston. They were fighting in Chicago, and he was fighting Joseph JoJo Diaz. And it started looking like Diaz was like real kind of tentative and moving around a lot in the first round, but then he clocked Progress, and he went after him. He tried taking him out that first round. He put it on him, and then he did it again to him in the third round, and that fight was close. And I thought Diaz won that fight. He got a really bad cut, and he did it to himself. Progress's head was like right here, and they were close. He goes bang. And he hit his head, and then his head hit him in the eye and cut him. Now, he had 2 cuts, one under his eye, so it was a punch. But that first cut, and he bled like crazy, which is probably why he didn't get the decision. Okay? Because he looked terrible because he was bleeding all over the place. But he was putting it to Progress. Progress punches weren't try. I remember thinking that when I first saw Progress fight. He's fit looking, but his punches don't have a lot on him. He's an okay boxer. Those correct punches, but they're just his arms. He's not really getting his punches into his weight into his punches, and this guy Jojo Diaz went after him and made a good showing for himself. He increased his value even losing, and I'm gonna bet you guys like Ryan Garcia and other guys that want to get to that next level are going to see Progress as somebody that's right for picking. Okay. And then the next fight was very interesting. The main event was Kenny Sims Jr. versus the champion. The champion was Oscar Durante Guardo, who Jojo Diaz lost to. Got stopped in the ninth out of 10 round fight. Got stopped in the ninth round. but this guy's got heavy hands. Um, Durante is strong. He looks strong physically, and he comes at you, and he doesn't back kick a step backwards, and he was smacking Sims around. Sims went the distance, to his credit. He just didn't have enough. You gotta crack somebody to keep them off you. You gotta hit them hard enough to let them know that they don't want to be in there with you, right? And then you keep trying to get them in there with you, right? You keep pushing. I was telling my girlfriend that Durante fought a lot like how I used to fight, but I threw a lot more left hooks. But the just kept coming at him and just hard shots. I mean, every time he hit Sims, I was surprised because he was thumping him, and but it turned out to be a good night of fights. The last two, the main event, the co-main event, and the main event. But we got a good matchmaker, and he matches them close, and they're always gonna be exciting fights. And he's got that reputation. He was doing that in Coeur d'Alene, and that's what got that Coeur d'Alene the reputation of having good fights because of how he matched them up. All right, well, that's Red's Corner. All right, have a good night.